like to call this meeting to order. First part of business, I want to approve our minutes from last time. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right. First off, I'd like to acknowledge that we are officially now five.
Yeah.
This is our first meeting as a 5-member
Great.
commission.
You can vote, Abby.
So yes, now we can all vote officially. All right. Ken said he should be able to make it. I don't see him yet. So maybe we'll just wait on that for a second.
Unless, do you know anything about
Call him if you
Ice Glen treatment?
I'll just text him.
Text him.
I may know, but he'd be better.
Let me double check to see if he emailed me. Anything else? No. Okay. I know he'd be joining us on email, he said, or on the Zoom call.
You want to jump over that until he gets here?
Yeah, we can move on and give him some more time, if that's all right with everyone.
Sure.
So next up, and Patrick, maybe you can help us with this, is the grants, USDA and the MVP.
We got that one.
We did get it.
Yeah, but there's a lot of paperwork, I guess, and forms to fill out, but we got it. Yeah.
We got it.
Oh, excellent.
70,000, okay.
Fantastic.
And that was for the treatment?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was that suppression rate.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and so, I think the idea is to use that first because you have to do the work before you get reimbursed and.
So might it be something we would want to do again?
Well, he's treating them this fall and we're also having the folks who did the injections come back.
Yeah, so, and that's what we'll get into when we get the update from the treatment. And the MVP, did anything move forward on that?
No, we didn't, we did not apply for it.
Okay.
But we can, Carrie Ann Petrick reached out to us and asked us for ideas on climate grants that the town want to do, and Michael and I are gonna try to talk to her. So, if you have any ideas on sort of climate justified grants, we can always apply to get a culvert fixed, which is sort of the default MVP, type of solution, but, for something more creative, we should have a conversation.
And then what, roughly, when is that gonna come around again?
Well, it comes around again in, I think that the early deadline is February and the final deadline is April, but she suggested, we ran into her at the press conference for the culvert project that we're doing with Lennox and New Marlboro and Pittsfield, and she said, get started now on ideas. That's why she offered to meet with us, so.
Great.
If somebody here wants to join in or take the lead, it's fine with me. I've got a lot to do.
Well, just keep us posted and then maybe we can and find some people.
But seriously, if any of you want to be involved in that, just say the word and I'll loop you in.
Gotcha.
And just remind me, what are the qualifications? Specific, I know there's things you
Municipal
can do.
vulnerabilities, it's for like non-intervention or whatever if it's something like treating the trees, it doesn't qualify. But if it's something like coming up with a plan to manage the forest, it applies. Or, we did the culvert one is an assessment of every culvert in town so that we can come up with a plan to fund it. And so you can actually, get as a second stage funds to implement what you come up with. But the first stage almost always is sort of like knowledge or planning. Trying to understand the scope of the problem.
Okay. So it may be something we can talk about with further down in the agenda.
Gotcha.
What about the forest stewardship plan? I thought we applied for that. As far as I know, did we get any?
I think this was a rolling one that everyone gets approved for, but I don't know if you guys do.
Right.
Did you apply for it?
I thought we did. We prepared it.
I don't remember that.
I don't know if we submitted it. I don't know.
I remember we talked about it. I didn't know that we actually.
Yeah, I remember we had a couple meetings about it, but let's,
Maybe we didn't.
I don't think we did.
Actually, yeah, we did, for Ice Clan.
Oh, right, we did for just a moment.
Yeah, we submitted one for Ice Clan. Well, we passed it on to Mike to submit. And then
I can ask Michael tomorrow, just as a status update.
yeah, that would be helpful because I thought Michael could attend tonight, but I haven't heard anything from him. I know I asked him a couple of weeks ago and he said he was able to.
yeah, that was,
I can text him too if you want. You might forgot. There wasn't on the,
yeah, it was July that we prepared it and handed it in to him. And then lost track of it. Actually, it was July of last year. What am I saying?
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember we had a couple meetings about it.
And, we can resubmit it. We can submit. And I think that, given the conversation we're gonna have about carbon sequestration, we could submit a grant for a stewardship plan geared toward, active management or whatever it might be that we wanna do.
All right. Let's see what he says and if we didn't. Because I think, yeah, when we get down to the below, we can talk about that more and MVP now. Okay, so that covers all the grants outstanding that I think we had. Tree City USA, that was another thing Michael, I was hoping could help us with. And I think, just to be clear with everyone, what we're waiting on, what Lisa's been helping me try to track down is a tree report from the tree warden, which was supposed to be, I think, submitted during the, when all the reports were gathered, but we don't have one yet. So,
So I'd like to reconsider
yeah,
because we've been asking for a long time, or for a few months, I think, for just number of trees planted, number of trees taken down, and a work plan that I think is required by the state, according to Michael. That's all, I think that's the only additional thing we needed for Tree City USA, except for a proclamation from the select board. But I'm hesitant to proceed.
Okay.
Because I think it's something we really need the tree warden, there's not a lot of work the tree warden needs to do, but we do need involvement. And there hasn't.
I know he runs a landscaping business, which is the busiest in this season. So it could just be that the timing is kind of a little, I'm not speaking for him, I'm just saying, it's like harvesting tomatoes, you work. This is the busy season, so.
But-
I just came up.
It's been the busy season for a long time.
yeah,
I don't, not making excuses.
So I think I would like to put a hold on this.
Okay.
Because I really do want him involved in it, and
Yeah.
I don't want to be chasing people to do this. So
and what, just a reminder, when,
the deadline is December 31st.
December 31st. Okay. All right,
So
okay, well,
maybe next year.
let's put a pin on it and then,
But with that said,
yeah,
as a citizen,
yeah,
Patrick,
Yeah.
as a citizen, I really would like that information.
yeah.
I'd like to know how many trees came down and how many trees were planted. I think that's
I think it's
important.
great. I
information to know.
would just point out the tree warden is elected just like some of
aware.
the others of us.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so he certainly doesn't work for Michael or for me.
Right.
Okay,
So, but I think it's fine and he seems like a reasonable guy. And, we just may not have been tracking that information. So it could be a little bit, maybe somebody has, I have no idea. I just don't know. It's not anything I've ever asked before.
And if he has not been tracking it, well, now he can start tracking it, knowing that we'll need it. So,
Yeah, I haven't even thought about this until this moment.
sure.
yeah, no, I'm just saying, if it's this kind of thing where he wouldn't know, knowing that we'll need it for next year, he could hopefully,
Yeah,
and maybe we'll be lucky.
Excuse me,
yeah,
Yeah.
Lisa, you said that all the information that was needed for that Tree City was
Yep.
available from the tree warden. And now you're talking about making him do something that he isn't doing?
Well, no, I
And we
think.
haven't,
Oh,
the
sorry.
tree warden should have, as far as I'm concerned, the tree warden should know how many trees were taken down, how many trees were planted. That's the information we're trying to get. And I thought at a meeting Michael attended, he had said it's a state requirement to do a plan, just to present the plan. It's supposed to be part of the town report. So we've been asking, I don't know for how long, we've been asking for several months just for that information. It's not anything in addition.
Is this in the watershed, like around Lake Africa that you're
I
talking
know,
about?
town trees,
No, I think.
street trees.
When we had our conversation, Michael, I think there's supposed to be a report. That's just how many trees are cut
Right?
in the town, on town property. So, and we are not asking for extra. We're not asking
Right.
for, so from our point of view, and when I did have a talk with Mark way back when we started this process. Because I remember, Eric, you wanted to check in with him first to make sure that he was on board. So when I did, he was very amicable, very excited about it. I think then all of a sudden, it's been about a year since he's returned an email. So I'm, from my understanding from when I talked to him though, he's on board. But I just think that that was his first year last year.
I think so.
And from what he conveyed, he was coming up to speed. So I'm hoping that he'll come up to speed. And like you're saying, maybe he wasn't recording for the previous year. This year, he's getting on track. Again, I don't want to make excuses for him either because he's not here to tell us. But, so I want to just so for now, let's put a pin on it. But I think we have December 31st. I want to I will take it on as responsibility of myself to keep that kind of thread, trying to pull that thread a little bit more. But I don't want it to be, I know it's frustrating when people don't respond.
I think I'm
Yeah.
okay with
Wait,
trying it for next year.
okay,
As opposed to this year. And see if maybe he needs to start the process
Right.
for a complete year.
yeah, because
And then we can get it in the
yeah,
June report, May
Yeah.
report to the town.
right,
But Eric, it's not anything in addition.
yeah. That's at least what Michael communicated, that it wasn't that's what should be.
We should know that.
Yeah.
But that should be basic information.
Well, it's never been basic information with the last tree warden, who never submitted a report.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's good to know. Okay.
Yeah. So it's not like standard, okay, this is just what you do when you become tree warden.
Well-
But Michael, I thought Michael had said, because the application says a report if it's required by the state. And we had asked Michael, and he said it was required by the state of Massachusetts.
Right, so so I'm gonna check into Michael about this and see if we can find if there was anything previous from a past tree warden.
And the ones I've seen in the past are like 2 sentences.
Right.
It's not a big deal.
Right.
It's just very, very basic, simple information.
Okay.
Speaking of trees, has anyone heard of a guy named Tom Zetterstrom?
Yeah.
Tom is a nationally renowned expert on Dutch elm disease. He happened to be driving through town and raised all sorts of red flags and sent us
Yep.
a very detailed analysis of what we need to do yesterday to make sure that many more trees don't die because we've got, I guess, some that are diseased, and this is
It'll
a
spread.
video. I just forwarded you all the information that he sent to town,
Yeah.
unprompted. It was just, it's obviously some specific expertise around Dutch elm, but.
He's the head of
I wanna
Elm
look at
Watch.
that. What?
He's the head of Elm Watch. And
Yeah, he
they
is. He wrote the
inoculated.
sanitation policy 20 years ago for the
Yep.
state or for the country, I don't know. And has found some trees that are putting many others at risk that we have here. So,
So that went to the tree warden, right?
what?
That went to Mark.
went to Mark and me and Michael.
Yeah.
And I sent it to you guys, just
Okay.
because I just got this morning. But
Yeah. All right, well, maybe we'll put that on the next agenda to talk about. Okay. So let's move on and talk about, if that's okay with everyone, nothing else to say. So I had a talk with Michael about farmers markets, and briefly in that talk, he said, I mentioned the potential hiring of someone, and we had talked about this at the last meeting, whether we needed to put it on to the next town agenda to get the position paid for. Michael seemed to indicate that there was some funds, and I'm not sure which pot it is, that is a discretionary fund that can be used for 1 year to supplement a position, then would have to be voted on the next year, because we're not hiring like a full year-round position. It might be like more of a stipend position. He seemed like you could fund it from that pot, and then the preceding year, we would make it more official and have a town vote on it. So that being said, in my mind, for next steps, to start trying to get some more balls rolling, because I have had a few farmers reach out inquiring about it now from town side, a maple producer and flower farm. So who are just asking like, what can they do to help to get this off the ground? I think it'd be appropriate to schedule a meeting with the select board to start talking about if we can get a coordinator, that's someone we could start thinking about organizing around this. I also know the Lennox coordinator reached out, so we have their information to maybe talk to them. But start maybe having some planning, start putting this together, put the feelers out to some other farms, and make this more of a thing. Because I think that's the most common question I keep getting asked. When is the farmer's market coming? When is the farmer's market coming? I don't imagine it, again, being a Great Barrington size farmer's market. I think we start very small. Obviously, the thing I keep hearing is vegetable farms are going to be the hardest farms to attract out of everyone.
Really? Because
the produce, you don't know how much you're going to sell if you harvest it all and it goes to waste. It's a hot day. You also have to pay someone if it's not yourself, to be there. Not saying this is not a hard challenge for meat or egg or any other producer. But I think that would be something we would want to start communicating with a coordinator and start figuring out how to attract them here. Because I do think we have a bunch of little farms around in the community that, may be interested in partaking, especially from Stockbridge. And if we get the word out now, we can start building momentum come springtime. And I know Eric had a bunch of good resources, and I believe it was your wife that used to run a farmer's market.
She helped originate the Gloucester Farmers Market.
That was
She had
it.
a good relationship with the mayor since she was a city councilor, and he shut down the middle of town. And it worked real well, and then they moved it out to Stage Fort Park and it died. So location is pretty much everything.
Right. And I think this would be the thing, that's the thing I really want to start talking about with the select board is location. And I don't know if it is, start there and then expand the circle to whatever community partners we want. If it's the chamber, I don't know who else is interested in it. But again, I want to reiterate, in my mind, we're not shutting down Elm Street. We're not shutting down Main Street to do a farmer's market on the street. I think we have a very accessible, big lot here with play set, swings and stuff. I think it would be very nice, tennis courts, basketball courts, whatever day we do it, it has a community feel, and we have bathrooms. So, but this is something we should talk about more with the select board.
Be the beach too, there's just bathrooms there too.
That's true. So, I know.
Have you found anybody that wants to coordinate a farmer's market that has experience?
I've not heard from anyone yet, but I also didn't put out the feelers.
The Lennox woman was interested.
Was she interested in coordinating? So I guess we do have one person who's interested.
The woman who coordinates the Lennox Farmers Market, said, obviously for next year, she'd be interested to talk to us.
So I can reach out. Yeah, you gave me the info. And maybe we can have her at a meeting. And I had another talk with the Berkshire Grown, Jordan, Archie, who had come and gave us that information last time. And it seems like in the Thursday to Friday window, afternoon, I think Lennox is one day. So we potentially I forget which day it is, whether it's Thursday or Friday. We might want to avoid that, but it looks like there's nothing else happening the other day of the week, whether it's Thursday or Friday, that's nearby enough that might not.
Traffic wise, Friday would be
Right,
tough.
right. And, but then again, traffic is traffic.
True. It's traffic.
Traffic is traffic, so but we'll have more talks once I think the coordinator is very important to have first, to start making these decisions.
That's great that there's potentially funds to.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Anyone have any other questions, farmers market wise, or any other thoughts? Yeah.
There's that monthly program at CHP where folks can get like a basket of produce for relatively low cost. And since we now have that bus service with Great Barrington that we're doing that, sort of help people who might be transportation challenged. It might just be a good thing because it kind of overlaps between the affordable housing community and fresh vegetables and fruits. And it could just be that's another angle to the farmer's market that we want to encourage, maybe.
What is this route? What is the transportation?
Well, we have we signed a new contract with Great Barrington to do the shuttle bus. And then we also have something that Jamie put together with this guy Tate who runs the Berkshire, Regional Transit Authority Working Group or something. But anyway, we have a on-demand shuttle that we're doing starting in January. We got a grant from the state to basically do on-demand transportation. And so, when you look at places to not only just get fresh vegetables, but get affordable fresh vegetables, like a whole, grocery bag of stuff for $5 or whatever it is, it might be good to, just make sure that all these different groups are talking to each other.
Yeah.
To, make that happen.
Well, and that's why I appreciate this spot just for accessibility of the bus line
Buses coming.
to stop easily, leaving maybe a space for it even, just so that it can drop off easily, and people can walk down. Because I think that's the most important thing is the access. So, Patrick, I know you can't speak for everybody. When could we set up a date?
Well, I can't speak for that because I get to write the agenda. So
Oh,
as soon as you want. We have a meeting on the 8th. We have a meeting on the 22nd.
We'll do
I think it might be better because some people might be yelling at each other at the 8th. So we'll see.
got it. Let's take the quiet one.
I won't be here, but.
Kidding, nobody else. Not in our book, I mean.
So you said which date was the
22nd.
22nd, September?
Yeah, is that soon enough? Or
I think that'll be good.
we
And
have some meeting notes, right? I can send myself.
What do you intend to accomplish at the select board meeting? Just to go get them, guys?
well, my impression is to solidify the hiring, the coordinator, that we're going to go out and start putting that out there. And to clarify what Michael needs, like how does the hiring happen?
Yeah.
We'll put the word out. I don't think we're tasked with that. But to solidify the process of Michael, we can start putting out that word. Does Michael need a description? Do we need, and this is maybe something I can get beforehand.
Do you know what the order of magnitude is, what it costs to run a summer farmer's market?
Well, to compare, the only anecdotal price that I've heard for like the Great Barrington one for that size has been about 10,000. So that's a big market.
Right.
That's a really big market. So I don't think it's gonna be that much.
So even to back it
Yeah.
up one step, do we need a select vote on, is it already approved that the town wants a farmer's market?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, look, generally the way things work is we usually don't, this is a weird time because there was a number of, there's some financial resources the town currently has that relate to ARPA that don't have to go through the normal appropriation process because we basically still have several $100,000 in ARPA money that we want, that's undesignated, so maybe that's what you're referring to. But generally speaking, an item like this would go either in the budget, which means when you vote on the budget at town meeting, it either gets approved or doesn't approve, it always gets approved. Or what we usually do is on new things, we put them as a warrant article so the first time people can kind of debate the merits of it. And then if they like it, then in subsequent years, we build into the budget. So, but the thing about that is that that budget isn't going to affect till July 1, 2023. So if you do an article or put in the budget, then that's how you have to pay for it. Now, that doesn't mean though that we couldn't start earlier. The select board, we just have to designate some of these undesignated ARPA fund resources to do it.
So-
And that might be what he's thinking. I don't know. I haven't talked to him about this.
So again, my question is just procedurally, does the select board have to vote to approve a farmer's market? And does it have to go to town meeting or you can just take money? from-
Generally speaking, you want, the way that the towns work is you want the voters to generally approve
Yeah.
items up for consideration of spending voters' money. So in a perfect world, and what we generally do is we say, we're gonna put it on the warrant, and then the select board votes the warrant. But any 10 citizens can get together and put something on the warrant too. It's just, you have to, basically do a citizen's position. That won't be necessary here, I don't think. I don't imagine this will be at all controversial. So.
my understanding too is in the realm that since we were recodified as a commission, I look at our bylaw as we are to promote agricultural ventures and forestry ventures. And I think a farmer's market is a vehicle to do that because in my head is to make sure that we're reaching out to all the farmers that are interested in Stockbridge. And that includes Highland, that includes the flower farms and maple producers, and start with them to really give them an avenue to sell their stuff. And I still, the form of this farmer market is up in the air right now.
Right.
Because is it every week? Is it every other week? Is it a monthly thing? I'm not really sure right now. And eventually, I think the biggest issue is to get it off the ground. We need funding to hire the coordinator. After that point, we got to figure out how to make it a self-sustaining thing because, that $10,000 for the Great Barrington farmers market coordinator, that's being paid by dues of the farmers and the producers that are showing up and buying renting space.
Got it.
And this is more like fronting the money so that we can establish it as a destination so that it can become a self-sustaining down the road, and then we can be more hands-off.
Seed money.
It's
Right.
Because I
I
think
just call a couple of people and come up with actually, be great to have a couple of candidates and know
Right.
sort of what it might look like financially.
Yeah.
But I think that Michael's right, finding several $1,000s to do this shouldn't be.
and like I said, I don't even know if it's gonna be that much because I think having this fresh market, I think last time we talked about it, Eric brought a great point, like we gotta make this free to the producers because they're going out on them risking a venue that's not really tested. And to show up on an evening and not sell anything, that's a lot of time and
Right.
money to set up and prepare and not sell anything. So it's like a risk on both, but we got to show that we're taking the risk too.
Sure.
Yeah. So anyway, go back to your point, Eric.
Yes. Patrick, would you like us to come in front of the select board and ask for the approval of a farmer's market, since you control the grounds that we may well put it on.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think just to generalize the question, you're welcome to come before us at any time. I can't imagine that there'll be any opposition to a farmer's market in town. I think it's an awesome idea, but I don't speak for the board or for, anybody who might show up and, so I think it's fine. I think you're welcome to come in whenever you want to. I think that right now it's not so much about, kind of the where to locate it, because this person might have some expertise. And like you said, Eric, location. It's more about having the person who can start to plan it and having maybe a little bit of seed budget to sort of do that over the winter. So we don't have to wait till next fiscal year to kind of get it started. That's sort of what I'm hearing.
Okay, but you're going to put it on the agenda as farmer's market, I guess. Are we going to come in and ask for approval to proceed?
Well, it's up to you guys.
I think you're making a great, sorry.
I'll put on anything on the agenda that this board requests.
Yeah, but again, we're taking up the select board's time. What do we want from the select board?
So I think,
Yes, the select board.
yeah. So I think you just laid it out right there. I think we asked for the seed money for a coordinator, approval for potentially putting it up on the grounds of the town hall, and a budget for planning, and bring that to the select board. Does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds fine, but you can't do that if all Patrick does is put
Right,
farmer's market on the agenda. It's got to be spelled out
right.
so that somebody looking at the agenda knows what you're going to discuss.
Right.
Yeah. But we can get as specific as you want. I would also add in, if you're talking about ramping something up for next summer, add a little bit of money in so that you can promote it.
Yeah.
Not just hire the coordinator,
A better advertisement.
Yeah, basically like letting people know that we're going to be doing this starting X date at this time, and when we're ready to, at the end of this process,
So it could be something like on the agenda, planning for 2023 farmers
You
market.
can also do it over the winter anytime you want. If you guys want to figure out the details with Eric and everybody, any time you want it, we can get on. This is not
Yeah.
hard to do.
How do we feel? Is it all right if we get the ball rolling? Is that to just start because that's the one thing I'm worried about is I don't know how long it is going to be, even if the Lennox person works out, to just hire someone, because I think a lot of this stuff will be like the coordinator's job really is to start figuring out, and we can support in any way.
Okay, the open meetings law says whatever on that agenda item has to be read by somebody and understand what's going to be discussed and approved.
Right.
So what you want to do is request approval from the select board to hold a farmer's market on the grounds and to appropriate no more than $10,000
Right.
for a
Right.
coordinator. That's what you need on the agenda item, if that's what you want to do.
Does that sound reasonable?
Maybe.
All right.
You can also work with Michael to write it
Yeah.
exactly like it needs to be written too. I mean, he might have some ideas specifically. Yeah,
Right.
you were already talking to him. I mean, I'm hearing all this sort of literally the first time.
Right,
So,
right.
this is just off the top of my head. I'm not,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can we'll get that specific to make sure that people know exactly what we're talking about. Because I don't think it's crazy to me, but we're like already into September, so
I think sooner than.
I think sooner that, because I don't know what bumps we're gonna run into along the way.
Yep.
And sooner, this always happens, sooner or later you realize you're halfway through winter and you're trying to plan your summer crop, so. And we have to reach out to farms, and I think the coordinator, that's all stuff, if we get someone to focus on this.
No, I think let's get started on it.
And then that way we can have meetings come October, November, whenever we get a chance to find someone to start coordinating with them and figure out promotion and figure out their budget. But,
So what I've got for the agenda item for the meeting is to request approval to establish a farmer's market, approve the use of the area around town offices, approve a budget of no more than $10,000, clarify what the select board and Michael Canales need to write a job description, and prepare to hire a coordinator.
Now, and the trickiest part of all of this is the only way to approve the budget would be for the select board to agree to designate some of the ARPA funds that I remember, unless Michael has some other policy he's talking about.
Right.
And once again, I haven't talked to him about it yet.
yeah,
I mean, otherwise, it could be that this is a project that would get funded for next year, for next fiscal year.
right,
Which in normal times, it would have to be planned for next year. Yeah, this is just weird times.
right. All right,
We can ask for the money for the coming year, and if that doesn't work, then, okay.
yeah. All right, so.
Coming year's not a problem, it's the current year,
Yeah.
which is,
Well, I mean-
requires the special sort of.
Right,
I mean, the next calendar year.
Summer.
Yeah.
Right.
all right, so September 22nd, I think we'll be ready to go. I'll make sure I'm ready.
And do you want everyone to come in, if so, do you have to do a joint meeting?
Um,
Or you can just come in, it's up to you. But
I don't think, do we necessarily need a joint meeting? I think we just
I can
come present it
attend that meeting.
and whoever can be there
Yep.
for backup.
I'm gonna be away, but you don't need me.
I always need you. Need everyone here. Okay. Any other thoughts on the farmer's market? Okay.
That'd be great.
Hearing none, just before we get too far, because I don't see Ken, by now. Patrick, can you do your best I talked to Michael, when I had this whole talk about Ice Glen, so I got some of the story. Can you do your best to update just what you heard from the meeting, that the select board had
with Ken.
with Ken?
Oh, yeah, we are still doing great on the ash trees. It looks like we lost one or two during one of the severe storms, but it was just because it got knocked down, not because it had ash borer. So I believe that Ken checked all the ash trees, they're still doing well. We probably need to, treat them again next year or the year after. He's going to keep an eye on them, but that's the relatively low cost treatment, injection treatment. The hemlocks were less successful. They found that, I guess and who knew this, there's a slow uptake system and a fast uptake system, and the low bidder had the slow uptake system. And so only 47 of the, something like 43 or 47 of the hemlocks were treated because it took so long for them to take the insecticide up in them. And Ken urged us to delay no longer. And so we're going to, because we treated so few and it was per diameter inch, we didn't spend much of the budget, but we're going to do a hybrid treat this weekend and try to get as many more of them when the vendors are going to approve, treated by injection. And then we are going to augment that with some basil bark spraying, which was the original idea that we maybe should have stuck with. But and the reason for that is just that he said, we're literally losing, dozens of trees a year, and we're at the point of no return. So, the idea is to treat as many as we can with the injection, really try to get as many of the rest done with the basil bark spraying, and try to get at least some insecticide into all the trees, or as many as we can this fall. So that I believe that he's already lined that up, and that's supposed to start in the next week or two.
And with the basil bark spraying, was there any concern from neighbors? Was there?
There's always going to be some concern from neighbors. It's obviously legal, and there's a limited amount you can put per acre, and we're obviously respecting that. it's well, I can't say, I'm not a scientist, but you know, obviously, you know, it's not like you know, there's only what, 350 trees up there. We're talking about, you know, spraying the bark of a couple hundred trees. If we can, we may not even be able to do that many because of the limitations per acre. So, but you know, of course, wells are hundreds of feet down to.
Well, yeah. And when I talked to Michael about this, basically, the reason it's an old growth forest is accessibility, and it's hard to assess all these places too, because it's the uptake, the timing, and how long it takes to get in there. So the basal bark, we're augmenting, and like you said, a hybrid treatment because we're running up against the clock of the cycles of the season.
Yeah.
And the fact is, I think, from my understanding is because we weren't able to use the access that we wanted, due to just an agreement.
I don't think that was the issue though with how we got treated. It was literally just that the machine was not, I mean, it was not the high pressure injection.
Gotcha.
So I know the Forest Service grant, I think we just said injection, right?
Yeah. It's not specific to a certain process. I mean,
We didn't say spraying, but what about the,
I'm not sure if
CPA?
we can do the spray versus injection, but the injection is what's really costly. And we should keep
Right.
injecting as many as we can.
But my question is, especially for, we got CPA funding too, right?
Yeah.
Did we get CPA
Yeah.
funding? Did that say either or? I'm just concerned that people might react that we said we took money saying we were doing one thing and then we're
Well,
doing.
the original funding we did at town meeting was not specific to injection, and we're still not even spent that 70,000.
So it's not specific.
And we need to go back and go to folks and make sure that we, you know, can get it done. We'll try to get it done, or we're not going to done. You know, I have no problem with that.
Well, it's like to your point, the communicating of it, and I think that that's what Michael indicated, that we're still using the town approved stuff that we had originally got. So, and when we get into the other funds, then it'll be, I think, more crucial to make sure that it's
That
just
we're
that.
doing that for, just that we're doing what we said we
When
do.
you look at Mass Audubon and every other state and national, you know, steward of forest or wildlife or land or whatever, pesticides are a tool of last resort, and we are literally at the point of last resort.
You know, I understand that.
I know, I'm just saying, like, we gotta, you know, as you know, I think the town has made this a priority of saving this forest, and we're gonna do everything we can to save it that is within the legal, you know, that we can legally do, which is limited. You know, we can't spray the entire forest because you can't put that much per acre on these trees are giant. So we're gonna do some spraying, we're gonna do some injection, we're gonna like try to save as many as we can.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, I want it to be specific to what we
So,
said we
Lisa,
do. And
I have an
going
answer for you.
forward,
I have
Go.
an answer for you.
Yeah.
The CPC
CPA.
proposals specifically said stem injection.
Okay.
So we'll have to use that money first to pay for the injection.
Or just
That
leave
was
it for
done.
future injections and use the USDA money.
I think the USDA did too.
I
Right.
think it
We-
did.
So
But
I
going
think,
forward,
yeah.
if we do any more grants, we should make sure we say either or.
Yeah.
So that we're covered.
Well, and I think this, you know, and this just, it's gonna be a broader topic because it is clearly, I mean, this is what we kind of always knew, that accessibility and size of this stuff and the price tag of all this moving forward is a hindrance and will be a perpetual problem as we go through further and further into global weirding of it getting warmer. It's just an effect of it getting warmer. So to keep this all in mind, that as we move forward, and how long did they, and this is something I'd love, can ask, how long were they in there for the 47 trees? Was
I
that a
think it
couple,
was, you know, they started around.
it's supposed to be a couple weeks, I think.
15th or so, and they were there a good month this year. I don't know. I think it was actually, I know is that it was like, it was much lower, but you know, look, ashes went so well. From when we like identified the problem to when we were injecting them was like 90 days,
Right.
which in town time is like, it's like light speed. The hemlocks have kind of run into some unknowns. We now have a lot of expertise in this, but we are in a race. I mean,
Yeah, but to that point, I think, and this is why I love Ken to be here. It's, it is the geography of the land.
Yeah.
It is hard, and from what I heard from Michael, indication access was a little bit of a challenge because we weren't using the one we thought we were using. We were going, having a bit more of a hike in, and that adds up when you are mixing these chemicals, carrying these packs in and doing this stuff. So, I think we're still in it. We're still good. I'm glad we have 2 seasons that we can do this in, but I want to get a firmer number of how long it took 47 trees.
Yeah.
Because 47, if it took a month to do that, just so we're aware when we're doing this. And I think this is something we should just communicate when we are doing our reports and stuff. We'll see how many we get treated this year. And is making sure that the town knows that like this is part of the process, I guess. And I think this was not something to shy away from the project on,
I just want to mention one thing. When we submitted the original grants, I had suggested we include spraying, which we included, and some of the neighbors complained, Patrick, I think, and we took it out.
That's right.
So if you add it back in, you're going to have the same situation.
We already do.
Yeah.
Is it, I don't know where the neighbors are, is it possible to not
Yeah, we're
spray
trying to keep
those,
it away, as far away from there.
not to spray those trees?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can do another 50 by injection. We'll do those on the area that's in close proximity.
Yeah.
Try to do, the other
The
ones.
spraying farther in, yeah.
And from what I understand too, is the amount that we could actually even spray on the acreage because it's so tightly compact. It was 11 acres and I think it was like,
There was a limit.
it was we could only do a third of the trees through the basal bark spraying that we wanted to. That's the number that's popping into my head. So we can't even go over that much. So.
I have a draft, just a version 3 of the grant, and it does include both treatment methods, so.
Which
Oh,
grant?
good.
Of the
Forest Service?
Forest Service.
Okay,
yeah.
good,
Okay.
great.
Oh, no, wait, this is MVP action grant.
Okay.
Sorry.
I think the Forest Service did not, but I'm not
Yeah.
positive, not positive.
Looking to the future, one thing I wanted to do was bring in David Orwig, who wrote the book on the woolly adelgid for Harvard Forest. I had a nice hour talk with him when we were starting this whole process. So I'm going to reach out to him because he was interested in coming and talking to us because of the significance of the forest, and also the size of the project, which he was remarked is something no one else in Massachusetts is partaking in because we haven't had to deal with the woolly adelgid so much.
Nobody is, I'm not sure.
So he was talking about how he's gonna be using us, as an example of forethought into the woolly adelgid. But I'd love him to come and talk to us to give us new ideas on moving forward, because I know he's also into the biological controls and studying them and looking at the potential.
Long term.
Yeah, because this is a good short-term project, but in a 400-year-old forest, it is a blip. Okay. Any other thoughts about Iceland? Okay. All right. On to the actual discussion now. carbon sequestration in old growth forests and managing town forests for old growth and late succession features.
Okay.
Would you like to take it away?
Sure. So I sent some information to Matt on workshops I had attended about how to manage forests for carbon sequestration. And Bob Leverett had mentioned both when he came to Ice Glen and when he came to Bullard Woods, how much more carbon is sequestered in these old trees as opposed to when there's replanting with young trees. And for lots of different reasons, these old trees sequester much more carbon. So I thought about the list we got when we first started these meetings about all the town forests and wondered if we could first discuss and then possibly make a recommendation to the select board that either parts of some of those forests or maybe one of the smaller parcels be managed for old growth characteristics. And there's ways to do that either by passively just leaving it alone, that's the easiest way, or selecting for legacy trees, leaving down trees, leaving trees that have woodpecker damage to them. There's anywhere from doing absolutely nothing to doing a few things, but to really have a conscious effort to manage specifically for old growth characteristics. And Anthony D'Amato and Paul Catanzaro are from UMass Extension. They're the ones that wrote the brochures. I thought we might want to see if they can talk to us or visit one of these sites. I don't know these forests. I think Shelby does a little bit, but I'm not familiar with these forests. So I thought even if Tom Ryan, the DCR forester, could come out with us and look and see which, if any of these, it would make sense to try this with. Open for discussion.
The one area which I would object to is around where we get our water supply, since a high quality potable water supply is the most valuable thing a town can have.
Sure.
So I don't want to interfere with what the water department does up there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sure.
I would like to look into that for the future, for long-term, to see if, it's a total of 367 acres, the Everett watershed, those properties. And I just wonder if it would be if it would actually improve the ecological health of that forest or parts of the forest. It's a big tract. So we could work with part of it. And I'd like to learn more about the long-term effects on the water quality and on erosion, on leaching of nutrients through the soil, all sorts of things that could affect our water by just continuing with practices that have been done so far or trying something new.
Again, we have a high quality water supply. It's been managed very well by the water department. And I object to, I don't mind learning, but I'm not going to support restricting them from managing the watershed.
Do they do any forestry?
Yes.
They do. That's where they're doing the poplar? I think that's what.
Are there other sites on that list?
Yeah, the other good, I think it would be a good site is Stockbridge Mountain and an adjoining, contiguous small lot. And between them, there are 310 acres. And they're just kind of, out of the way.
And who, is it Tom Ryan that does the managing? Who does the managing?
Who's the forester for the Water and Sewer Commission? I forget.
Oh, I'm sorry, Forester from,
The Water and Sewer Forester, they have one. Have you guys talked to him? I talked to him 2 years ago when I first got elected.
Mhm.
And he has a plan and,
Yeah.
like Eric was saying, he's got a plan and we implement it and the water's been really clean and, I think it's not broken, maybe.
No, for the Stockbridge Mountain Forest.
Which is Stockbridge Mountain.
It's actually that, if you go to the Loveless property that Laurel Hill Association,
Oh, yeah, okay.
and it's the town land behind that goes up to the ridge.
Okay. But I don't believe we're not doing any cutting there, are we? We don't know.
We don't know.
I think the only place we're doing cutting is in the Lake Havac surrounding lands.
Gotcha.
And that's what I think, I'm not sure, but yeah. But there is a forester,
Right.
who's associated with that work, and I think it's reasonable. I called him, he's really nice. He had a plan, he explained why they do certain things and they do, and it's like, it's your charge, you want to talk to him. I do think though that, if you have my board is not gonna change, this is water reserve, we have a elected commission and they're gonna manage the water supply and,
Yeah, so I agree. I think I would stay away from that. But if there's other properties where
Right.
we could,
Yeah.
There's a
Make a
lot of
recommendation.
land.
there's a lot of other
Yeah.
land
Yeah.
where we could make a recommendation.
I mean, there may be,
One of the questions I would have is like, it could be that the hemlock treatment is prohibitively expensive, but, we were able to treat, 50 giant ancient ash trees for a couple $1,000. I mean, one of the things you might want to look at is whether or not there's any other, really giant stands of ashes on there, because that's like the, that went so well, as,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that could be part of the evaluation is.
Well, what I'm really interested when I was reading through these is the levels of management and the fact of like, literally for old growth restoration, there's the do nothing.
Which
You
costs
do
nothing.
absolutely, you don't have to treat, you don't do anything. You
Costs
let the succession come, you don't go in and mess with it.
Yeah, it was great.
To the other end where you might be taking some timber, but you're leaving legacy trees,
Leaving down trees.
leaving down trees, leaving snags and stuff. To just, instead of making it, removing logs and stuff like that, you want that biomass to keep accumulating from time to time.
Yeah.
So that's our thing, someone, in the community who recently was just hiking on Rattlesnake Mountain and saying, you got to see these trees and that there might be old growth trees up there. They're massive. Of course, anecdotally speaking, I can't verify it.
I've heard that from other people.
I've heard that from other people, but to just be like, part of it I could see in the future is just identifying these legacy trees.
But the town doesn't own much of Rattlesnake Mountain.
No, exactly.
And
No.
It's private.
Highline.
Yeah, it's private.
It's mostly private, but I think a part of this too, and part of our outreach to the community should be for people who do own large swaths of forest. If they're managing their stock or they're been logging, getting the information out like, hey, do you have a massive old tree on your property? Not for people to go see it, but to be like, and obviously, a lot of these people probably do this anyway because it's a beautiful old tree.
I also think, just making sure people understand there is a map associated with the Berkshire Scenic Mountain Act. And so even if it's private property, there's certain parts of these mountains that cannot be logged. Making sure that folks understand what that map is would be good to get out there.
Yeah,
We've had that problem with Concom.
Yes.
but I like that. So again, like I'm not interested in stepping on anyone's toes in Averick or anything like that. But start maybe talking to the forester, if you could forward us the information.
I can try to find out.
Find it.
Call Mike Buffoni. He's the water super.
Oh, that's right.
He's awesome and he will give you the information.
Right.
And look at that. I think that it's for a layperson, it can be counterintuitive to think that needs to be managed. And yet when I talk to the forester, he hands down convinced me that they had a really good plan. And, I'm just saying, it's like, just bring it. It's like, he's a good guy and Mike's a good guy. I think that they won't have any problem in communicating.
So if we were interested in the Stockbridge forest, would that be the same people?
No, I believe that the forestry only is for the water and sewer
Yeah,
lands.
so we want to
Yeah.
stay away from that.
Yeah, we're not-
We wanna
Well,
stay away-
that's why you guys need someone for the forest stewardship plan. I don't think we have a town forester, do we?
Well, but does Tom Ryan, the DCR forester, does he have involvement in our forest?
Well, I think he's like a resource the state can provide, but he's not like a town forester, no.
Maybe we could reach out for
He
recommendations,
might be the person to start with.
because I never got any, I guess I don't have that much sway, but Mike Murray never got back to me when I reached out
Oh,
about
Maury.
that. More, yeah.
So,
So,
Mike Moore didn't call you back?
no.
Wait, I can call him for you.
Do you know?
That's good.
Do you know? Oh, well, you might have more sway.
He's like, what's great about Mike is he focuses on old growth forest.
Right.
As opposed to sort of like commercial forest. So, for this goal, he's a great guy to talk to. And he's
Well, that's
really
why-
nice. He
yeah.
walked Iceland with Ken and Bob and I the first time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was the forester we.
Yeah, right, that's right.
Right.
On the forest stewardship plan.
He's a really nice guy.
So if he would walk, or, Anthony D'Amato or Paul Catanzaro might be interested too.
Right.
But if he would walk Stockbridge Forest with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be,
And then we
and
could make a recommendation going
Yeah.
from there.
it would be really nice. And then if we could schedule a meeting where
Yeah.
we go out.
Maybe, he wasn't able to, this is like, I think it's like an hour and a half drive from him each way. And so he wasn't really able to do a lot of work in town, but I mean, he'd get him on Zoom maybe. I mean, I can't speak for him obviously, but certainly, this seemed to be an interest of him. The other thing you could do is call Bob and say, Bob, we kind of want to get the forester back. Bob has, Bob says jump and people say, hi. So, he might be able to kind of coordinate getting him back there too.
Okay. Okay.
one
Well,
of
Bob is interested in
Yeah.
getting calculations,
that's
setting
another-
up plots, getting calculations on some of these trees to
How
show
many
how much.
properties do you show that the town owns?
44, I think,
43.
43. So,
A lot of them are really small and.
Yeah.
but I think Tom Ryan from DCR would be available, Matt, to come and,
Yeah,
look, I think DCR would do that. That's what they do, to come and look at the forest with us.
right.
One other property that may work is Gould Meadow. It depends on how much of it is forested,
Yeah, that's the
but
only
it's
problem.
95 acres total, so. But to my mind, Stockbridge Mountain is
And-
probably the best bet.
I don't think Gould Meadow is all managed by the Concom, correct? Because I don't think the Concom is going to do any cutting there.
It depends on the goal.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
And, and I would only point out too that, community preservation has 3 buckets: housing, historic, and open space. And so, there's many ways you can invest in with community preservation, including, you can acquire lands either through direct purchase or through purchase on a kind of a bond where effectively you say, I'm gonna pay $20,000 a year for 10 or 20 years and buy a tract of a mountain. So, there are a number of, number of very large forestry owners in this town, and it's always a good idea to kind of keep those, develop those relationships and understand, the state of Massachusetts has animal migration tracks that they identified. You can get on the state website for any town. And it shows like what the priority habitat tracks are that need to be preserved. And, if you really want a fun project, it's to map that track to those owners and communicate with them and find out and just be aware so that before it goes into, and we're talking about like often mountaintops. It's not like we're taking it out of like the pool of land that could be developed. It's like not like, it's just more a question of, there may be some conservation opportunities by having these conversations,
And also, and this is where I thought MVP grant,
Yeah.
if you managed for old growth characteristics, I
Yeah.
would think that fit into MVP criteria. Or again, if we just to leave it alone would cost nothing.
All right.
But I think what would be nice, so to make some action items about this part of the conversation is to if you could get in touch with Mike Murray,
And more, yeah.
Maury, excuse me,
MAURI.
and see if he's up, because we still need to check in about,
I may not call me back either, but I know I'll call Bob better.
yeah. And we can maybe get in touch with Tom Ryan and schedule, a meeting at the Stockbridge, property,
Great, yeah.
Stockbridge Mountain. Does that sound cool to everyone? Okay. It's the second part of this is, I think what Bob was talking about.
Bob was talking in both Bullard Woods and Ice Glen. Bob talked about, he said, setting up a plot to do calculations specific to species and tree size, which would provide data on how much carbon was being sequestered in these old trees. I don't know the specifics, and I don't think that setting up a plot means anything permanent. It probably means
I think it's just a,
Test
you know,
plot.
a certain area and getting data. So he's really interested in doing this, at least in Ice Glen, and I think it would provide very helpful information for us.
Yeah,
So as I learn more, I'll keep
we'll put it on,
posted.
whenever he sends you what he wants to do, we'll put it on the agenda and find out, because that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Great.
Okay. Any other thoughts about carbon sequestration and old growth? Not hearing anything. Okay, the final thing on our agenda tonight, I got someone reached out from the American Farmland Trust about they're updating the soil maps. Basically, what they're doing is identifying soils in all over the Berkshires, each town, soils of local importance. Let me just pull up here. The reason, from my understanding, they're doing this is for NCRS. They are basically trying to help people who own farmland that want to put it into land easements to protect farmland. But if you only have 49% identified soil of farming importance or agricultural importance, you don't qualify. You need to have 51%. So they're kind of going around and they're redesignating some soil types that are, they're considering soils of local importance. So they're not, they were never designated before as prime agricultural land. But what they believe is that in some of these cases, it could put people who are looking to go through this process to conserve farmland over the hump and make some funds accessible to them. I hope I'm explaining this correctly.
Is that the AP, is that the Massachusetts APR program?
I believe so. Let me double check. Just go back to my email here. Oh, wrong email. Apologize. Okay, going way back here. It is the agricultural land easements. So it's the ACEP program, which I don't really know what the difference between that and the APR.
Never heard of that one.
The Agricultural Conservation Easement Program.
Never heard of it.
Through, and it's through the Natural Resources Conservation Service.
Oh, okay, that's federal.
Yeah, it's through the feds, sorry. So anyway, I got this sent to me. Basically, all they're asking for, and, you know, they were claiming that we didn't need to have a public forum yet. They're not really rolling it out very large yet. They have a few other towns that already signed on, I believe Sheffield, Monterey, Great Barrington, Northampton, or excuse me, North Adams. Basically, they just asked for me to verify it, the soils are part of Stockbridge soils, and to send it back to them. And then they're gonna go take that, and submit it back to the feds and say that these are soils of local importance. I wanted to just check in to make sure no one had any.
So you do that by looking at a soil survey? How do you do that?
Yeah, the soil survey. So, and this is through UMass, the soil scientists
Yep,
developed this list for us. All I gotta do is put my name on it and approve it, but I wanted to make sure there was no blind side, that I wasn't thinking of or didn't know of before I do it. It's before I acted unilaterally.
Well, if,
You didn't include a map to show us where the locations are.
No, I didn't. They didn't include one, the stuff they sent me. Basically, I went on to, what's the website? They have the soil map website that you go on. It's funny, one of them is actually in my backyard and I went and double checked. But basically they're kind of spread out here and there all over Stockbridge. And they are kind of, at least the ones I looked at were pretty rocky and I guess considered important now, but were not agriculturally feasible before. So a lot of it's mostly hay, it seems like.
well, if all they were asking for you to do is to verify that the list of soils that you got from the state basically is accurate. I mean,
This also does, and I made sure this is not like we're signing over any land or anything. It's just if there is a private citizen who wants to take part of the program, and I asked if they wanted us to promote it yet. And they were like, no, they're not ready for it yet. They're just working on getting towns to sign off on the soils. But basically if a private citizen has 49%, they might now have 50 or 55% that could give them some federal funding to preserve their land. So I didn't see any downside as far as my research as of right now.
great.
Right, not hearing anything.
okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve Matt signing the document.
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
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 First vote. All right, I'll send it back to them.
Great.
And they will stamp that, and hopefully we'll hear back from them soon. Oh, and two, if you do want to look, the source, it says it down about the soil survey of Berkshire County. It gives you a little place to log into not log in, but to see where it is.
Okay.
All right, that being said, that's the last thing on our agenda for tonight. I'm assuming it's all right if we go back to our first of the month schedule. Next month.
That would be Monday, October 3rd.
Monday, October 3rd. What's going on 3rd? Does that sound good with everyone? I don't see any holiday, anything happening. And then the 22nd, whoever can show up at the select board for the farmer's market. All right. All right. Not hearing any more business. All right, I'll make a motion to close the meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.